Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Fandom Empire Live, August 21st, 2020, broadcasting to you live from just outside Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I am your host, Sean, and tonight we sit down and talk Halloween. That's right, we are talking all things Halloween tonight. We're talking Halloween Kills, we're talking Halloween Ends, we're talking Halloween, the Nutcracker remake, you name it. Not that that's a real thing, because it's definitely not. But we're talking all things Halloween tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get into everything, I just want to take a second and express my appreciation for last night's stream. We dealt with a very significant topic that I think a lot of people don't take seriously. And it's unfortunate, but they're the way things go sometimes. And the community, specifically the Fandom Empire community, the Halloween community, the horror community, even the Star Wars community stepped up big time and supported an individual that supports our programs on a really high level, not just financially, but emotionally. And I can tell you that this person was very moved with last night's episode. And again, thank you to the community for making all this happen. Now, I want to let everybody know I did not have time to do proper tech setup today. So the images, my image might not even be as good as it normally is. There might be some sound off. We're going to work on all that stuff. We had a fire scare down the street. Smoke was everywhere. Turns out it was just some idiot in his truck that decided I'm going to do burnouts in front of kids all the way down. Joining me on this episode, though, is the one, the only, massive Halloween fan himself, Nick Pusch from Nick Pusch's Horror Channel. What's going on, man?
Hey, Sean. Not much. How about yourself?
Living life, dude. I know you've sort of had a bit of a back row seat, if you will, to what's been going on lately. But I got to tell you, man, we have shouted out your channel multiple times on here. If there's one thing that kind of irritates me about the YouTube community, it's and even podcast community, it's everyone assumes that, oh, well, this channel only has this many followers, or this channel only has this many subscribers. So that means they, might not have good insight. And it's utter horseshit, because your channel for a long time now has been one of my go-to places to hear Halloween talk. And it stunned me when I talked to a couple of people that hadn't heard of your channel. And I do know since then they have gone over and watched your channel and appreciated your content. And I just love what you do, mainly, dude, because you come across as a real, genuine person who's not trying to fake anything, and you're just you. And I fucking love it. I also may love your T-shirt and desperately want one myself. But no, I appreciate what you do, dude.
No, I appreciate you mentioning my channel. I've heard it a couple times now, and it's always great to hear, because, like you said, it seems to be a very kind of niche community in certain aspects where, like you said, people are like, oh, this person only has 200 subscribers. I'm not gonna listen to that person. But how are you supposed to gain subscribers if people don't give you a chance? So it's nice to have support like your guys' channel, and it's nice to be appreciated like that. Like you, like everyone listening, I'm just a fan who likes talking about it. Not everyone's gonna agree with the shit I say, but at least hopefully I come off like I'm coming from a good place where I care about the franchise, or care about what I'm talking about at the very least.
I got to tell you, my co-hosts more often than not disagree with what I say, so I'm all about that. Just speaking your mind and letting the chips land where they will. To let everybody know how tonight's episode is going to work, this is how it's going to work. It's going to work like any other Fandom Empire Live episode. If you want to chime in with any comments during the show, send in a super chat, and Nick and I will interrupt to read your super chats on air. If you either can't afford to send in a super chat or don't want to support the channel on that level, we will get to fan questions in the final segment of the show that you don't have to super chat. Otherwise, if you'd like to, we appreciate the support. Everything that comes into the channel goes right back into the channel. And there's definitely been a lot of people who have supported the channel on that level, and that I thank you for. Tonight, Nick and I are going to talk Halloween Kills. We're going to talk Halloween Ends. We're not talking spoilers, though. We're talking what we would like to happen, and If you follow this channel, you know that us, along with Jimmy Champagne, were two of the people that we didn't go out of our way to get our hands on scripts. They were literally dropped on our doorstep. So when I'm talking about it, don't just assume that I'm, giving away stuff in the movie. I can tell you that that's not the case. When I'm talking about it, I'm going to be talking about stuff that I would have liked to see happen if I was doing the movie. And Halloween Ends, nobody knows shit about. So, take a guess with that. And then we're going to talk some other Halloween movies. And actually, Jade, who most of you know is my wife, has a question for Nick himself a little later on. So that's going to be interesting. Nick, why don't we start things off really simply, man? You've probably mentioned this on one of your videos before. You've probably done a countdown of it maybe, and I just haven't either seen it or don't remember it. What is your favorite Halloween movie and why?
Well, as with most, except for you, because I just watched your Halloween ranking video that came out. Was that last week? I don't know. I think I listened to it on Sunday.
Oh, what we ended up doing there is that, so it wasn't just my list, because my list would have looked a little different. There was myself, our two chat mods, Frank Riker and Toronto Freddy, and Johnny and Tommy, who co-host on here. We all made top 10 Halloween lists, and if we had a movie at number 1, it got 10 points, and if we had a movie at number 10, it got 1 point. We combined all the lists together, and that's how we got our list. So,
gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's a cool idea. So mine is the original. Mostly, I mean, there's a million reasons why that I'm sure everyone has said over the years, but for me, it's mostly just because Michael is kind of in the shadows. He's stalking Annie in the background. He's kind of there and gone, and he's just kind of you don't really know what he is at that point. You got Loomis's The Devil's Eyes monologue, which kind of gives you a little bit of insight, but other than that, you don't know if he's supernatural. You don't know if he's a man. So I really just kind of liked that mind-bending aspect of it. It's kind of what scared me the most. I'm also a big fan of Halloween 2 and also Halloween 4, but it all starts with the original for me. I'm probably what you'd consider a purist at heart. I think the original Halloween, although it's not my favorite movie of all time, it's definitely number 2 or 3. So it's got to be the original for me, just based on kind of the aspect of supernatural that Michael does have or doesn't have, and how it just kind of plays with your mind a little bit.
For me, I remember the first time I seen the original Halloween movie. I think I've told this story before on the channel. My cousin, who's going to be on the channel tomorrow night watching Halloween 2, he for months was hyping up the Halloween movies. I'd never seen any of them. So I would have been, I think I was 12 years old going on 13. And we decided that for my 13th birthday, we were going to have like this little ball hockey tournament. And then afterwards, we would all go back to my place, and my cousin was going to show a bunch of 13-year-olds Halloween 1, 2, and 4. He explained why he wasn't showing 3 back then. And I remember seeing the first movie, and as at that age, I think it was, I thought that stuff like blood and gore and guts and just seeing people get killed on screen was what scared me about horror movies. I was very wrong. It was the suspense. It was the score. It was just everything almost that surrounds the movie, in the first movie specifically, that had me just, feeling chills go down my spine. Excuse me. And I remember, thinking, I didn't know any of the behind-the-scenes aspects at this point. This is 19 years ago now. But I remember cheering on Loomis as Michael is going after Laurie and the kids at the end, just being like, "Come on, Loomis, get there!" And it was it was such an amazing experience, and it's one of my favorite nights in my life. And the fact that he did let us watch Halloween 1, 2, and 4 in one night really made it feel all sort of together, and just loved the experience.
Yeah, I totally feel you there. I remember, excuse me, I was 6 years old when I saw the original, and I remember, I went over to a friend's house. We watched it. came home and I was just petrified. And my dad comes home from work and he's asking what's wrong with me. I tell him I saw Halloween, and I remember him going up to my mom saying, "You let him watch Halloween?" And I had kind of never been the same since. But I remember revisiting the movie a couple of years later when I was maybe 8 or 9, and I remember, be like, maybe I was just, being a wimp, whatever. I remember sitting there, and I just remember about halfway through, I had to mute the movie. I watched it I was able to watch it, but I couldn't listen to the sound. I couldn't listen to the score because just every cue in that movie, every sound is just, especially when you're a kid, is just kind of petrifying. So I was able to get through it muted, but it was a different experience, that's for sure.
Now, when you seen Halloween 1, I guess the time you revisited it, how soon did you watch Halloween 2 after seeing Halloween 1? Was it pretty quickly, or was it a while afterwards?
I saw Halloween 2 pretty quickly. It's weird what you remember. I remember we did not have cable at the time, and it was on cable. And I remember going to my grandma's house, and she made up some lie to my parents that I was watching something else. But I remember watching that, and I've been petrified of hospitals ever since then.
Especially those older hospitals, man. Oh man, I remember. It was a few days after seeing Halloween. I guess, we seen them all in one night, but I think it was a few weeks actually after that. I ended up in the hospital for some reason. I think it was a concussion related, and it's like middle of the night, and like people just sort of start to disappear. And even though you got your mom and your dad there with you, like you're looking around and like there's nothing. There's just nobody's there. And I remember being like, oh no, I mean, our hospital doesn't look like the hospital in Halloween 2 anymore, but back then it did, and it just gave me the creeps. It's like, okay, so is Michael gonna come walking around the corner at any point? I mean, 13-year-old kid, fairly innocent in the mind. Hospitals are creepy, dude, especially the dark corners. Hell, the stuff I went through the other day, remind you, with what's going on in the world right now with the pandemic, there's not as many people wandering in these areas. But I, this lady is walking me to the CT scan room, and you have to be with someone. And like, we're turning around all these corridors and stuff. And like, I'm looking around, although it's modernized, I'm thinking to myself, there's nobody here. I'm in a giant hospital. We've been walking for 5 minutes and nobody's here. And even then, it's like you get the vibes of Halloween 2 there. And while Halloween 2 is not, I don't even think it's in my top 3 Halloween movies, the vibe that hospital gives you, the hospital sort of becomes a character in its own, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of genius things that they did with Halloween 2, a lot that they got wrong as well. But I think the hospital, just the setting of the hospital is just, like you said, it's a character in and of itself. It kind of brought a different aspect to, Michael kind of lurking the hallways. And, there's a few, nice scenes where, they got all the babies there and the nurses are talking and you kind of see Michael in the background. Or they did a couple things with, you don't actually see Michael, but the camera shows a door shutting. So just to kind of insinuate that Michael has been there. So it's just kind of cool that he could be around any corner and, in any room. Just very, like you said, creepy.
Now, have you actually, before I get to this, Intel Wild, big time supporter of the channel, sends in a $20 super chat. $20 for the hot tub scene. Yeah, hey, let me tell you, that hot tub scene as a 13-year-old kid was quite enticing. So, yeah, no, I get where you're coming from there, Intel. So for me, specifically when I look at Halloween 2, one thing that comes to mind when you look at that movie is, I know some people will be like, well, Dick Warlock doesn't feel like Nick Castle, or the mask looks different, even though, in fact, it's the same mask. To me, it really is a really good follow-up to Halloween 1. Now, me personally, I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with this. I like Halloween 2018 better than Halloween 2. But I still love Halloween 2. That's why we're watching it tomorrow night. When you look at it's hard to compare a movie that came out in 1981 to a movie that came out in 2018. But people will, and that's kind of what we're on YouTube to do. What's your stance between those two? What's the better sequel, and why for you personally?
So for me, I like Halloween 2 better. But I don't know where people get off sometimes. You say you like Halloween 2018 better. Sometimes you hear people go, "What do you mean Halloween 2 is way better?" Whoa, I didn't say I didn't like Halloween 2. People assume because you praise Halloween 2018 that you're knocking every other sequel sometimes, and it's like, just calm down. But yeah, for me, I like Halloween 2 better. Now, I don't know if it's all nostalgia, because sometimes when you see something as a kid and it has an effect on you, it can really drive your like and dislike of the movie. But for me, I just like Halloween 2 because of a couple of reasons. Number one, like we talked about, the hospital setting is awesome. But number two, I just think Dean Cundy did a great job with the lighting and the photography and all that jazz. I just think it feels like it's the same night, even though there's aspects that, like you said, of Warlock that are not like Castle at all. But for me, I like Halloween 2 better. I'd probably have Halloween 2018 though. It was a good damn sequel. It'd be either 3 or 4 on my list, probably 4. But after that, there's a huge drop off. So Halloween 2018, for as much crap as it gets, it was a damn good sequel, and I was very happy to be able to see it in theaters.
Me too. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Some of the horror community might not like what I'm about to say, even though I'm not necessarily a fan of some of the more recent Star Wars movies. Star Wars is my first cinematic love. Nothing's going to replace that, not even Halloween. But going to see Halloween 2018 at TIFF, being in that audience, the crowd reaction, despite the security walking up and down the aisle with their little green laser pointers to make sure nobody's friggin' recording it in there, which was distracting at times. It was the best theatrical experience of my life. It's how I met Toronto Freddy. It was just mind-blowing, man, the reaction. I love Halloween. I loved it before then. I've loved it for years. It has almost like a family value to it for me, since it was my cousin that introduced it to me, and he was more like an older brother to me growing up. But I never thought I would hear a reaction to a Halloween movie in a movie theater like I heard that night. I was completely blown away. And, I dig Halloween 2018. But I also dig Halloween 2. I do. I have to ask you, have you ever seen the TV version of Halloween 2 that has all the extra, hospital scenes with the secondary characters in it?
It's been a while, a long while. It's been so long that I can barely remember. I know there's a couple extra scenes with, Bud, I think, and like you said, Jimmy and the nurses and stuff like that. It would take a lot for me to remember that. Have you seen it? Did you enjoy any of the extras?
Shockingly, dude, a few years ago, I'm in this pawn shop, and I'd never seen this version of Halloween 2 before. And is it Blu-ray? I don't know if it's Blu-ray or DVD. It might be a Blu-ray. There it is. It's Halloween 2. Comes with a bunch of extra features, and one of the extra features, in fact, is the TV version of Halloween 2.
Wow.
And I'm like, for $2? Hell yes, I'm buying this. So,
right.
We watched it a couple years ago on New Year's Eve, and I haven't seen Halloween 2 since. So I'm really excited to sit down tomorrow night and watch Halloween 2. I don't know if it added a whole lot to the movie. It gave you more of the hospital. But like I said, I think Halloween 2, the hospital in itself, is kind of like a character, much in the way, for me, the Millennium Falcon's a character in Star Wars. So that's where I sort of sit with that. I'm going to get the wife's question in here.
Sure.
So she wanted to know what you think is the most underrated Halloween movie, or even underappreciated Halloween movie. I have my own opinion on this, but I'd love to hear your answer to this and why specifically.
Man, she is giving me the tough one tonight, huh?
Well, a lot of the time she'll ask a question, I'll just be like, no, I'm not asking that on air. And when she said that, I'm like, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
So that's tough, but underrated, underappreciated. I am going to say something that's probably going to lose half of my subscribers here.
Oh, no.
But I am going to say, based on the term underrated, I'm going to say it's going to be Halloween 6.
Which version?
And I, uh, God, they're both kind of probably the theatrical.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the theatrical version of Halloween 6, and basically, I know the story's a mess. Like, I'm not saying the story is not a mess, but it's got a lot of good qualities to it. If you can look past some of the stuff, I think the kind of the atmosphere of the Halloween season is great. I like kind of the brutality that George P. Wilbur uses for Michael Myers. The hospital, the operating room massacre, although not really in line with the original Halloween, I think it's a cool scene. The ending's garbage, the story's garbage. Paul Rudd is interesting, to say the least, his performance. But I would probably say that's the most underrated, underappreciated, because, you get Halloween 5 that kind of, I don't think it's underrated at all, because I just think it's garbage. H2O, I'd probably say, is overrated. That's just my opinion. Halloween 4 is probably rated right where it should be. 2 and 8, maybe 18 could be an answer too, because it seems like that's getting shit on a lot lately. But for me, it's got to be Halloween 6. How about yourself?
Well, I mean, just in general, and some people might not like this, but I've always liked the Halloween 6 producer's cut. I'm not saying that it's a perfect film. There are parts about it that aren't good. We did a video on this channel called Halloween 6 Revisited, where we sorry, the wife said something, but I missed it. Just ask in the chat, Jade. Anyway, I always liked the producer's cut, man. I did. I dug it. And I liked the cult vibe because it was very different. And at the end of the day, and the mask, you know what? I mean, as much as I love Halloween 4, and everybody knows on this channel, Halloween 4 is my favorite Halloween movie. The mask isn't as bad as it is in 5, but still just isn't right. After going through the mask we see in 4 and the mask we see in 5, to get the mask we get in Halloween 6 is quite an improvement. So mask doesn't make a movie, though. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Nick, did you like how they brought back Michael in 4, and what did you think of the kills in the movie?
Good question. Did I like how they brought him back? Well, having him wake up from a coma, I didn't mind it. The fact that he kind of woke up all of a sudden when the ambulance people conveniently mentioned that he's got a niece is alive, that I wasn't a huge fan of. But as far as waking up in a coma, I don't really know what else they could do. It's certainly better than some of the other resurrections, no pun intended, that we've got. But the kills in the movie, I did like the kills in the movie. I was not a fan of the thumb through the forehead. I don't know why. It just didn't sit well for me. Maybe if it was through the eye or something. But I like the shotgun kill with Kelly Meeker.
Hell yes.
I like, the way he he rips Earl's throat when he's driving the truck. That was pretty cool. Speaking of Halloween 4, I love the daytime scenes with Dr. Loomis. That is my favorite Loomis. I know it's blasphemous probably to say, but it's my favorite version of Loomis because he's crazy now, but he's not as crazy as 5. Instead of calmly going to the police station and saying he just kind of like, Michael Myers is here in this town. Like it's just awesome. The scene at the gas station with Loomis when he's kind of begging to Michael not to go to Haddonfield. It's just fantastic. I probably rewatched those Halloween 4 daytime scenes with Loomis more than anything else in the franchise, believe it or not. It's just that cool to me.
I love Halloween 4, so my opinions here are going to be biased. The opening sequence, I think, is the best of any Halloween movie, including the original. Just all films subjective, just my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. It feels like Halloween, man. Just the old town and the barns you see and the Halloween decorations and the monologue at the beginning that lets you know what has happened and where we are is really cool. I dig that movie, dude, a whole lot. Love it. I'm with you on this though. the thumb in the forehead, and I know how they did it, just doesn't look good. You know, I didn't buy it as he was actually sticking his thumb through the forehead, and through the eye would have been better. It would have been way better in my opinion. I get it. We're supposed to see this is how strong Michael is. He can stick his thumb right through your forehead, but I didn't dig it. But Loomis in this movie, blasphemy or not, it's my favorite Loomis. Loomis, and even in Halloween 5, actually. I don't like Halloween 5 at all, but I find a way to love Donald Pleasance in that movie just because, I mean, he's the only, in my opinion, positive part of the movie. So I dig it. Earlier, I know Intel has some super chats here, but you asked what my most underrated Halloween movie is, and I'm sure this is going to get a lot of eye rolls. And I definitely didn't think this when I first seen this movie at like the age of 13 or 14. I think it's Halloween 3. Should it be titled Halloween? Maybe not. Maybe they could have just lived with the season of the witch title. But I dig that movie. I dig the score. Chalice is awesome in the movie. Cochran is awesome in the movie. I think it's so underrated. I think it's such a good horror movie. And I think once this trilogy's over, if I was in charge, I would go back and either do a sequel to it or turn it into a retelling of it in a modern day, you know, Netflix or Hulu or Amazon series or something. I think there's potential there for sure.
Oh yeah, there's so many possibilities with that storyline. I mean, talk about a batshit crazy plot that it worked. It works, and the score is incredible in that movie too. It just fits the movie. You know, I thought this movie was finally getting its due, and in some respects it has. But you still see people just bash it for not having Michael Myers. I'm like, just watch it. Just watch it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But just watch it.
I remember I watched that one with my cousin the first time too. He's like, there's Michael. He's right there. He's not talking about the TV scene. It's a scene where Dick Warlock's in it. I'm like, I don't see him. He's like, that's Michael. I'm like, doesn't look like Michael. He's like, no, that's who played Michael in Halloween 2. I was like, really? Come on, dude. Come on. Intel Wild sends in a super chat. Thought you were doing Halloween 2 tonight. No Intel. Fandom Empire's pumping out the content right now this week, although we had like a 5-day break, so that happens. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, myself, the wife Jade is going to be on. It'll be her second time on the channel. And my cousin are going to be joined by Tommy B out in his neck of the woods. And the four of us are going to sit down and we're going to watch Halloween 2. So prep your, whether it's renting the movie off YouTube, playing your Blu-ray, however you got to do it. We're watching Halloween 2 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on the channel. Plus taking all your guys' questions during it. Intel also says via Super Chat, cops do it by the book, yellow shirt in H4. Oh, man. Wayne Gottke's here. I don't know if you've heard me say this, Nick, but I love Wayne's last name, Gottke. He might have my favorite last name on the planet, Gottke. I just say it for the sake of saying it. Loomis having a drink with the Reverend for comic relief was actually really cool. I dug it. I absolutely dug that scene in the truck. What did you think of that, Nick?
Oh, I loved it too. Just everything about it, you know. You can't kill damnation, mister. And he's, I know that, Mr. Sayer. Like, it's just, oh, you're hunting it too, aren't you? It's just classic. You know, I always said, and it'll never happen, but I always said it'd be cool to see a spin-off of him, you know, driving across the country, trying to hunt whatever it is. Like, it'd be just fun, you know, drinking and driving, and who the hell knows what kind of shenanigans he'd get into. But I thought it was cool. It was kind of a little bit of a break in the action, but it kind of let you know, that evil's everywhere. So it's kind of cool.
So I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room here. And it's been over talked about. We've talked about it too much on this channel. We're going to continue to do so because that's just the way it goes. Halloween Kills has been delayed. No, it's not coming back out this year. I mean, I'll give it a 1% chance that some miracle happens, but it just doesn't make any logistical sense, pardon me, with everything going on. So I'm not going to ask you whether you think the movie should have been backed up or not. I think everybody knows the real answer to that given what's going on. But what's your anticipation level for Halloween Kills, man? And what's some things you're hoping you get to see in this movie?
My anticipation level. Right now, it'd have to be a 9, if not a 10. And it's mostly just because, like we kind of talked about earlier, just being able to see a good Halloween sequel in the theaters is rare. I was 12 years old when I was finally able to sneak into a theater and see my first Halloween movie, and it was Halloween 6, and then I saw H2O in the theater, and Resurrection in the theater, and the zombie movies in the theater. So I haven't really, like a lot of people our age, you haven't really got too many chances to see a good Halloween movie that's taken seriously, with care, in the theater up until 2018.
Yep.
Which, even if you have some issues with the movie, you can't deny that it was a kind of a return to good Halloween movies. So I'm excited to be able to see it in the theater, because who knows how many more chances we're going to get to see a Halloween movie in the theater. So that's number one. What I'm hoping to see, God, there's so many, and I know a lot of the plot with this movie, but for me, with not knowing much, there's just good possibilities that this movie can have. It's going to be on the same night, so we are 99.9999% sure. So that's cool right away. So I want to see, a sense of urgency. Michael's probably going to be pissed off. There's obviously going to be a lot of kills. I think I heard you say in one of your videos, whether it was a week ago or something, that it's pushing over 25 kills or something like that. So that's exciting. We don't have to waste time getting into what's been going on the last year. If this movie was set a year later, what has Allison been up to? What has Laurie been up to? We can kind of just get right into the action. So that's very exciting for me. And just being able to see them top themselves. Now David Gordon Green has another chance in the director's chair after maybe not hitting a home run with 2018, but at least getting a double or a triple, which is more than most Halloween directors can say. So just to see him have a chance to have a sequel to his own movie, instead of kind of being hogtied to the original like he might have been with some decisions in 2018, is very exciting to me. So yeah, it's just all the possibilities that can happen, and just being set on the same night again. Haddonfield Memorial is back. We'll see what kind of role that plays. I don't think they'd bring it back if it was just a cameo. The Myers house, same thing. All the returning characters, which at first I was, like, oh man, why are they having all these characters? And then, I think about it and I just get a little bit excited as a fanboy. And the flashback, kind of the elephant in the room here. I am cautiously optimistic about that. Once again I first heard about it, I was like, no, don't do it. And then I started thinking about it, and I was excited just to kind of dive back into that night in 78. And I think that once again they wouldn't do it if it wasn't going to play a role. So all of the possibilities with this movie are just very exciting to me.
I can say this confidently now, since actual people who were working on the movie, I think it might have been David Gordon Green himself that talked about it like this. Halloween Kills is a movie about Haddonfield. It's not necessarily Laurie Strode's story or Michael Myers' story or Allison's story, or even Karen's story. It's a story about Haddonfield, and I do think at the end of the day people are really going to like what they get. I do think it's worth the wait. Like anybody else, regardless of what we know or what we have, I'm bummed too. You want to see it, in a couple of months. You don't want to see it in 13 or 14 months. It's human nature to want something, as soon as you can get it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be a movie that disappoints many. And we'll see what happens. I know you sort of answered this earlier, but the wife wants to know what you think of Halloween 3 in general as a movie. Like, where does it rank for you?
It'd probably rank somewhere in the middle of the pack for me. I really enjoy, like I said, just kind of how batshit crazy the plot is. The score is right up there with some of the other top scores. It's just brilliantly done, with kind of the synthesizer and just the way it is. Who doesn't love Tom Atkins? It's pretty hilarious that this whole plot of the movie, the whole reason he goes up and ends up, battling for all intents and purposes, Connell Cochran, is because he wants to get laid by this girl, which is just pretty funny to think about it like that. but yeah, it's just an odd movie, and you don't see odd movies that work too often. It's very 80s, but it works. It's creepy. It's kind of like it's large scale because of the kids
Yep.
all over the world watching the commercial. So it's large scale, but it's got a small scale feel when they go to where they go, Santa Mira, or something like some town like that. So that whole town that they go to is just, it's got a lot of creepy elements to it that kind of you don't really see too often in any movies now. So I'm a big fan of it. It's hard for me to rank it, above Halloween from 1978, above Halloween 2. But if I'm in the right mood, I would probably put it, anywhere 5 in the rankings. It's certainly better than most of the sequels, minus 2018, that we've gotten since the 80s. That's for sure.
No, I'm right there with you, dude. It's right around the middle of the pack. And I dig it. I have the so my version of Halloween 3 is the steel case that came out. Was it last year or the year before? Has all the masks on the ground, and actually on this steel case, it has Michael's mask laying on the ground too for whatever reason. So
That's cool.
It's cool. I dig it. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Nick, do you think Halloween 18 works as a direct sequel to Halloween 78, or should it have been part of the series and after a previous movie?
That's a good question, Frank. Yes, there's parts of it that do and parts of it that don't. The parts that don't, for me, this is just for me personally, but are, are the parts where Michael just kind of goes on a spree of violence, basically. And what I mean by that is, he took his time more in the original Halloween. He's stalking Annie, stalking Laurie during the day, stalking, Annie for quite some time at night. And then, he just kind of takes his time, waits for her to, get the keys, and then ends up strangling her. So in that respect, it doesn't feel like a direct sequel to 1978. I mean, you can make all kinds of arguments that, Michael was waiting for 40 years now, so now, he's pissed off, Laurie kind of defeated him. You can rationalize all that. But for me, the stalking aspects are what make it seem like it should not be a direct sequel to 1978. But like I said, there's also parts that make it seem like it's a great sequel to 1978. They got rid of the brother-sister storyline, which I think is great. But my main issue with getting rid of the brother-sister storyline is, why have him go after Laurie again? You have all these possibilities where of things he can do. Why have him go after Laurie again? Why find a way to have Michael versus Laurie? We've seen that countless times. Well, probably because Jamie Lee Curtis signed up, and she's going to get average people, non-hardcore Halloween fans, in the seats. Makes sense. I totally get that. But for me, I'd probably say no. It doesn't feel like, it can be 100% a direct sequel to 1978. But I'd rather have that than keep the brother-sister storyline. I'd rather have that than have it pick up after Halloween 5 or Resurrection or whatever. So for me, to answer your question, it's yes and no, but I think it's the only thing they could really possibly do and be successful.
So I got to ask this one. We've talked about, what your favorite Halloween movie is. We've asked you what you thought of Halloween 3, the most underrated. What do you think the worst Halloween movie is? Because as much as I love this franchise, there's some bad movies.
So for me, like probably 80 to 90% of people, it comes down to a choice between Resurrection and Halloween 5. Well, if we're not talking about the zombie movies.
Everything. Include everything.
Man. I think for me, then it comes down to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection. However, I think Halloween 5 has the most unforgivable sins of any movie. And by that, I mean, the Myers house, the clown cops, Jamie being a mute. I think there's a lot of things in Halloween 5 that are more unforgivable. But for me, it's probably Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And it's just because Zombie decided to throw in all kinds of crap, like Michael wandering across the country, I guess, or something without his mask. Like Michael grunting, like he needs his wife in the movie, so let's throw in some symbolism with a white horse for some reason. You know, it's fine. That works in a sequel. I understand what he's trying to do in that movie with, you know, showing how the trauma affected Laurie Strode. I get all that, and I somewhat respect all that, but do it in another franchise, man. Don't do it in Halloween, you know?
I totally get you. I just want to let the chat know this because I see there's some people that might be new here at the moment. So right now, guys, we're taking super chats. If you want to get a question in right now, send your super chats in. We'll interrupt our discussion, get your thoughts to Nick and myself. But we will take normal chat questions before this is all done with. I'd say about 15 minutes from now. So if you have any chat questions, I see a few that are already in there. Save them for about 15 minutes for now, and we'll let you guys flood the chat. But in the meantime, if you want to send in a super chat, feel free to do so. We're going to get to everybody we can. So I've talked on this channel before, dude, how, make no mistake, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is complete and utter horse shit. First of all, how do you not have the Halloween theme in the movie? Talk about a bonehead decision. But I have to say a couple of things. Actually, I'll save one because I'd love to hear your thoughts about your first time seeing the movie with this sequence. I have a guilty pleasure with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, man. I think it's so fucking terrible. Like, it's so bad that it's actually enjoyable to watch to point out how bad it is. Like, it literally makes me laugh when I watch it because, like, you know, I love Malcolm McDowell as an actor. I think he's fantastic. But in his version of Loomis, I sell the sizzle, not the steak. Or the, I said 2%. He's literally the comic relief in this movie. And Donald Pleasance must have been rolling in his grave because, my God, it's a horrible movie. But, dude, I would actually rather watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 than Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 or Halloween Resurrection or Halloween 5, just because it's so bad that I actually have fun making fun of the movie. That's not a good thing, I get it, but it's comical in my opinion because of how bad it is. I don't think that was the intention, though. I don't think Rob Zombie set out to make that movie going, I want this to play off like a spoof at times.
I would highly, highly doubt that. But I hear you. I got a lot of movies like that where, you know, you're not bored. You know, you're at the very least entertained by it. So yeah, I totally feel you on that one.
So I have to ask you, your first time seeing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in theaters. I wasn't a big fan of the first one. I had seen all the different cuts of the movie before going to see the second one. I thought it was an okay return to Halloween that was trashed up and with a bunch of unneeded things. But I was willing to see where it went, right? I think the poster, never let artwork hook you into a movie, because at the end of the day, a good poster or even a good trailer doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. But the Family is Forever poster where he's in the cornfield and he's getting ready to stab, I dig that. I think it's an awesome looking poster. I really like it. So I was excited. But my cousin and I went to see the movie completely expecting to just for it to be dog shit. We weren't zombie fans. We didn't have a lot of faith in them. But that opening sequence, the hospital thing, for 15 minutes, we looked at each other like 2 or 3 times and basically said, are you enjoying this? And I get it. He's grunting and doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing. But we thought, you know what? This is a huge improvement on the last movie. I dug the hospital sequence, dude. I really loved it. Thought it was great. And then you find out it's a fucking dream. And it's like, oh, no. Oh, no. And, of course, it's downhill from there. I just want to know what your initial reaction was. And not just you, everybody in the audience, whoever's listening right now live, if you want to chime in with what your reaction was to seeing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 for the first time in that opening sequence before you know it's a dream. What did you think about it? Comment down below. Nick, what was your reaction to it? Maybe you weren't into it, but for me, it hooked me. And then as soon as the dream sequence happened, it was like, uh-oh, here we go. Here comes Zombie.
This was the only Halloween movie that I've literally been going to the theater and just being like, oh God, I gotta watch this movie. I mean, just because it's Halloween,
Right.
But then, like you, that opening started, and I remember I went by myself, in '09 because nobody else wanted to go. I'm like, screw it, I'm going. But I remember looking at some stranger next to me while he's, stabbing that nurse 100 times, and I just remember looking at the person next to me, and we just kind of had like, oh my God, this is awesome looks on our faces. It was incredible. Like, because you have to temper your expectations. This is a sequel to Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. Like I said, I wasn't excited for it, but then that opening happened, and it was awesome. And then, like you said, it ended up being a dream sequence, and then kind of back to reality a little bit. But yeah, it was cool. And it was definitely interesting, even though it ended up being a dream. It was an interesting and cool way to both start the movie and also throw kind of an homage to the original Halloween 2.
Totally agree, man. Absolutely. I hate that it was a dream sequence, though. I don't dig it whatsoever. Wayne Gottke, my favorite last name in the world. Wayne, we love you, buddy. In with a super chat. I just worry that we are now at a point where every subsequent Halloween writer in the future will feel the need to start a new timeline, and Michael shouldn't feel like a Marvel or DC character. I get what you're saying, Wayne. For me personally, make no mistake about it, Michael Myers is going to return to the big screen after Halloween ends. It might be 10 years, it might be 20, it might be 30, it might be 5, who knows? But if there's money to be made, you can bet someone's going to do it. I just hope we don't see another remake, because we don't need another remake. I would love just a different telling. Tell a different story involving the Michael Myers character down the road. I don't want to see another remake of the original. I'm sort of past that. Hell, I probably won't happen, but you know what? I'd love if they went back and said, you know what? We're going to do a new timeline where Halloween 1 is the canon, Halloween 2 is the canon, and Halloween 4 is the canon, and we're going to do a sequel 40 years later about Halloween 4. Here's a sequel to it. I think that'd be badass. Michael's just not seen for those 40 years after he disappears. You have Jamie knifing her stepmom at the end. That's how I do it. Nick, how do you feel about Wayne's comment here?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying too, and I'm with you, Sean. I would just love to. I don't want another remake. Like you said, it's going to get remade. At this point, the Michael Myers character, the Michael Myers brand, is basically like Frankenstein or Dracula were back in the day. It's a proven IP that is going to make money. There's always going to be people like us who will be excited and be talking about any Halloween sequel that's coming up. And like you said, I want just another, just pick a random Halloween, 5 years after 1978 and do a sequel there. You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to explain where he's been. Just have a have a movie set on Halloween and Michael shows up and, his craziness ensues would be cool. I tell you what, your Halloween 4 sequel idea, I guarantee you Danielle Harris would be down for that, and she'd come back too. So I'd be down to see that. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I think there's maybe some logistical issues with trying to market it per se, but I think you find a way to do it. You have almost like a callback to Halloween 4 where you have some sort of opening monologue sequence that recaps what's real and what's happened and where we are. I think that would be, that'd be cool. Frank Riker sends in another super chat. Nick, does it get annoying that Halloween movies make Laurie seem just as invincible as Michael and make it seem she can withstand injuries?
Well, yeah, I feel you there, Frank. At this point, she hasn't been killed yet, no matter what timeline well, unless you go with the timeline where she was killed in an auto accident in Halloween 4, supposedly. But she hasn't been killed by Michael yet, even though she's been in how many Halloween movies? 4 or 5 now, depending on which timelines. So at that point, Michael's killed, God, I don't know what, maybe not hundreds, but over 100 people, yet this one woman has never been killed by him. So that it gets a little bit unbelievable at that point. But I guess you just got to suspend your disbelief a little bit at this point and just realize that she at this point now, especially in the new timeline, she's prepared for him. She's Linda Hamilton, so to speak, and just go from there. But I totally get what you're saying. If this was one timeline, it'd be like, all right, come on. And I hate to say I'm sick of Laurie Strode, because that just makes me seem like I am anti Jamie Lee Curtis, which I'm not. But at this point, I'd like to see something else besides a third act of Michael and Laurie in some house or some hospital or some asylum or whatever. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying there, Frank. At some point it just becomes as unbelievable as, this guy shows up on Halloween and he's invincible too, So at some point it's just a little bit unbelievable.
All right. Well, I got 3 more questions for you, Nick, before we hand things over to the chat to end the night here. My first one is, I'm going to get you to put your writer/director's hat on. If you get to choose how Halloween ends that trilogy or quadrilogy, depending on how you're looking at it, how do you want Halloween Ends to conclude? What would you do?
Well, without knowing how Halloween Kills ends, obviously, but we can safely assume that Laurie Strode's going to survive Halloween Kills, because Jamie Lee Curtis is going to need to market Halloween Ends in 2022, hopefully. But first of all, I'd kill Laurie Strode, which I actually made a video, like 6 months ago, and I got all kinds of hate for saying that. But
God forbid you have your own opinion.
Right. So I'd kill Laurie. I'd have Allison survive somehow. And I don't know exactly how I'd do it, but I wouldn't do it on some cheap jump scare. I wouldn't have, the resurrection ending where, he's wheeled in on a gurney in the morgue, and then all of a sudden, how does resurrection end? Don't his eyes open, and does he alert? Does he jump at the corner or something like that?
His eyes open.
Yeah, okay, his eyes open. Maybe I'm mixing a couple up. But yeah, I wouldn't do something lame like that. You got to end it. Okay, this timeline needs to end. Whether, like you said, it's 10 years from now, 15 years, 5 years, it's going to come back, but end this trilogy or quadrilogy, whatever you want to call it, end it definitively. I know some people say it'd be cool, and I don't know how I feel about this, but it'd be cool if Michael just killed everyone and walked away. It'd be something different. It'd be something very different, and
I'd love it.
I would I'd kind of have my jaw dropped when the credits roll, like, holy shit, they actually did it.
Like outside police forces from another town, maybe state police comes in and like the town is dead. Like everybody is dead somehow. That would be, the boogeyman winning. I'd love it. I'd do it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, as I kind of talk it out, that's kind of seems like a cool idea. That's not just like all the other ones, where they defeat Michael somehow, and all is good, and then there's a jump scare. So you'd have to do it a little bit different. Maybe have him kill everyone, like I said. It might be interesting. I don't know if it's something they would actually do. I would highly doubt it. But who knows? It's 2021. Maybe they'll see if audiences are ready for that. But then you're going to have all the fans, just begging for another sequel because Michael's still alive and all that. But I personally, have Michael win. I think that'd be cool.
I hope they go that route, but I got the sick feeling in my head at the end of the day they were going to finally kill Michael Myers in this timeline. And I don't necessarily think that's the right decision, but I'm not paid to make those decisions. So if they do it, I hope they do it in a really, really strong way. So the other question I wanted to ask you here, man, is we've talked so much about the Halloween movies. And there's so many different Halloween movies to pick from. For you anyways, what Halloween character outside of the big three, Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, and Dr. Loomis, which Halloween character is your favorite and why?
I'm going to go with the side character here that you're either going to like or you're going to hate as a Halloween 4 fan. I like Brady. not because he cheated on Rachel, but just because. I mean, Kelly Meeker, but never mind. Um,
Hey,
but I'd have to go Brady. And I just like, and maybe it's because I saw this when I was young, but I like the way he kind of stood on the stairs, loading his shotgun, yelling at Rachel and Jamie to get out of there. I got this. You know, granted, it was dumb that he, used the bullets and forgot that he used the bullets, and all of a sudden Michael's there and snaps his neck. But I like that he went down with a fight. He punched Michael, he hit him with the shotgun, and then, kind of went down as heroic as a guy who was fooling around on one of the main characters can go. So I've always liked his character. I don't know why, but how about yourself?
I think we lost you there, your audio there at the end. What was the last thing you said?
I don't remember. Something about just him getting a redemptive moment, before he was killed to save Rachel and Jamie.
Yeah, I think we're having an audio issue here, man. Your audio sounding, you almost sound a little robotic. I don't know if it's the bad weather in my area or. Let's try this again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it definitely sounds a little bit different. We'll work with it though. We'll work with it. Intel Wild in with a super chat. In 2018, Jamie Lee Curtis is the badass shooting targets right in the head, and yet when Michael comes to her house and standing in front, she could have shot him in the head, but instead chooses to close the door. I mean, I think the reason for that is she's trying to trap him. Maybe she thinks the trap's going to work better. But I'm with you. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense there, dude. I'm with you, Intel. What do you think of that, Nick?
Yeah, I guess I get what he's saying. Maybe because she saw him survive 6 shots from Loomis, she realizes that bullets aren't going to kill him, even though this is a shotgun. And she's, obviously had this elaborate trap set up. So yeah, I'm with you there, Intel. But who knows? Maybe I think it's just got to be because she wanted to trap him and set him on fire.
It could be. All right, guys, I have one more question for Nick, and then we're going to turn it over to the chat. So if you've been holding those questions, or if you asked questions earlier, now is the time to send them in the chat to answer. If you have any super chats left to send, now's the time to do so. Nick, we're going to dive out of the Halloween franchise for a second here, and I got to know, what are some of your favorite horror movies outside of Halloween, and why?
So I'm a big fan of the first 4 Friday the 13th movies. I like human Jason, so to speak. The first Friday the 13th movie I ever saw was Friday the 13th Part 3, and I like Richard Brooker's performance. I think he's just badass. So 2, 3, and 4 of Friday the 13th are especially my favorites, just because they scared me as a kid. Jason Voorhees is kind of like Michael, but kind of not. So just the whole setting of being in a camp, away from your parents, away from adults, was always just eerie to me. So other than that, I like the first 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street. After that, I think, Freddy just gets too cartoonish.
Yep.
But the first horror movie I ever saw was Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of that movie, just because, like Halloween 2, I guess, the hospital setting, and things like that. As far as recent, probably, I actually just finally saw Host the other day. Have you seen that yet?
I have not.
It's pretty good. It's a lot of jump scares, which I'm usually not a fan of a movie that just relies on jump scares. But it was really effectively done. And then I also like the first Insidious movie. As far as recent-ish movies go, I thought that was pretty well done and pretty creepy. Which a lot of movies nowadays don't really creep me out as much. But Insidious and Host are kind of the 2 that jump out at me.
Are you a fan of The Shining? I know The Shining's big for some people, but some people don't like it as well. I'm actually surprised how many people don't like The Shining. I think they just feel it moves too slow or it doesn't do it for them.
Yeah, I actually, like you, I was surprised too. I actually didn't know that there were people that hated The Shining until recently, until like a couple months ago. I was like, really? I thought, it was kind of like the OG Halloween where, everyone just, praises it. But yeah, I love Kubrick's, the atmosphere and the tone he just kind of sets up throughout the movie.
actually went to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando a couple years ago, and they had a haunted house that was like an exact replica of the movie The Shining. It was awesome. But yeah, The Shining is just kind of a great psychological horror movie. You know, it's one of those movies that gets in here, it gets in your head, where a lot of movies nowadays, you know, just try to go for the shock value and blood, guts, and gore, which is fine. That's what they are. But I like the movies that kind of get in your head a little bit.
Have you seen the Dr. Sleep director's cut yet?
Not the director's cut, no.
I think that the 3-hour director's cut. See, I've never seen the normal one, so I don't know what the theatrical cut's like. I've only seen the director's cut, and even though it's like 3 hours and 2 minutes long, I think it's one of the best horror sequels ever made. I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. I'm assuming in the theatrical they go back to the Overlook, and you get to see some of, not just towards the end of the movie, obviously, but early on in the movie, and you have obviously there's a recasting done, and you get to follow all the characters there. There's just something about the Overlook where the Overlook is absolutely a character on its own, and I remember watching that movie before. It was a while back now, definitely several months ago. I just remember being in awe, thinking, yes, this is a fantastic sequel made decades later. Absolutely loved it. Was blown away by it. Can't suggest it enough. I know it's on our watch-along list here on the channel, but I don't think we're going to get into it till sometime in early 2021. But I strongly suggest that one, dude.
Yeah, I gotta check out the director's cut. But like you said, it just shocking that it was so well done, being so many years later, and it's just kind of was true to the original and the tone. You know, once they go back to the Overlook, and you hear that the Shining score kick in, I just you get goosebumps almost. It's like, wow, we're back.
I'm curious to see what J.J. Abrams is going to do with his Overlook series. I think it's a prequel set several decades earlier, and just about some of the crazy stuff that happens in the Overlook. I'm really interested to see what happens with that. I believe we have another super chat in here. Frank Riker says, Nick, if Loomis was to die at the end of 5, as we're led to believe, would you like to see Meeker go after Michael? Meeker is a badass with his riot gun. Before Nick answers that, I just want to say I never got to answer my character one. Meeker's my answer if it's outside of the big 3. I loved Meeker. I remember we ran a poll, who do you like better, Meeker or Brackett? And I picked Meeker, and boy, did I get criticized for that one. But I love Meeker, man. Anyways, your thoughts on Frank's question?
I mean, like you, I'm a big Meeker fan, and I would pay a lot of money to see Meeker going after anyone with a shotgun, whether it's aliens landing on his doorstep or what, yeah, that would be awesome. I thought the way there's a lot of issues with Halloween 5, and I get they shot up the whole police station, but Meeker they should have at least showed him going out more like a badass. I mean, I think they show him taking the shotgun and shooting into the smoke as the man in black has a Tommy gun or some shit like that. But yeah, I think Meeker should have went out as more of a badass.
Yeah, no, it was a sad end to an otherwise really impressive character over 2 movies. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get to the chat questions, guys. Time for final super chats and final questions in here. Byron Weaver asks, are you guys happy that Halloween Retribution, sequel to Halloween Resurrection, wasn't made? You're going to find out a lot more about that sequel in an upcoming novel this October. We've talked about it before on the channel. I'll hold it up here quickly for those that might not know about it. Is Taking Shape by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins. If you don't own this novel and you're a diehard Halloween fan, you are making a criminal mistake, because I don't think, in my opinion, there is a better piece of Halloween literature out there. It brings you through the making of all the movies, the stuff that went on set, the reason for story decisions, etc. It's so good if you're into that sort of thing. They have a sequel coming out talking about a lot of Halloween movies that were in production and almost got made but didn't quite get there. And I forget how many they're covering. It's some ridiculous number. Like, I think it's 15 or 18 of them. That's how many got axed that had got to the point of they're in production and never happened. And these guys are awesome at what they do, and I know Halloween Retribution is one of them that's in there. I was not happy that movie got axed. I get it. They had the prison storyline. At least one version of it had the prison storyline. It had something to do with a Loomis offspring. It might have been his either grandson or granddaughter. I was all for it. I didn't know many more details other than we were going to see Michael break out of prison, which is similar to the Halloween Returns script that was out there a while back. Nick, did you know anything about Halloween Retribution? Are you happy they didn't make that movie and went and made the zombie movies, or would you have rathered them continue on from that story?
I don't know much about it other than kind of what you said about the prison angle. I would have liked to see it, just because, if anything, just because the zombie movies came next. I get why they didn't do it, and they went the route they went. And the zombie movies, obviously, at least the first one, made a shit ton of money. So I get that. But yeah, I would have liked to see it. And now that you mentioned this sequel to this Taking Shape book, I am extremely intrigued by reading all of those stories about sequels that never happened. I love reading shit like that.
It's supposed to be out mid-October, so while we can be sad that Halloween Kills isn't coming out, if you've read their first book, or even if you haven't, you should go buy it. It's worth every penny. Their second book coming out in October is a pretty nice consolation prize for not getting kills. I'm going to be all over that. We might... I know we're definitely going to have Dustin on, who's a co-writer on the book, and he's going to be on the channel. We've already spoken about it, and we'll talk about the book. That's going to be some awesome stuff, but maybe we'll pick up a few extra copies and do some giveaways here on the channel. That to look forward to. Mystic says in the chat, did you see at the end of Halloween 2018 where Allison has a knife, then she turns her head and grabs a knife to stab Michael? I've never seen that. But there are a lot of editing mistakes in a lot of movies, not just Halloween. So that wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. I've seen the movie maybe 6 or 7 times now, and either I just missed it or my eyes were focused on something else. But I never noticed that at all. Like you said, Sean, there's all kinds of different things like that where you can pick up. I mean, you can see John Carpenter's smoke from his cigarette in the original Halloween
over the tree
points,
yeah. Or over the hedges there. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yes. Byron Weaver asks, Nick, have you read the Halloween 3D script? I believe that was supposed to be the sequel to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I have not, Byron. I actually don't know anything about it except for like Sean said, that it was a sequel to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So I don't know anything about it. So yeah, sorry.
Where are we here? Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So this is from Linton. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Michael Myers meets My Little Pony. Yeah, that's basically the movie. Ryan says, the hospital scene in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was good, but then it turns out to be a dream, and it's just crap as soon as she wakes up until the end, basically. I think that's pretty spot on. Poppy says, Zombies House of 1,000 Corpses was too much for me. I've never actually seen that. Have you, Nick?
A long time ago. It's typically like most zombie movies, just white trash, a lot of F-bombs, a lot of unnecessary rape crap. It's just a typical zombie movie. It's not horrible or anything by zombie movie standards. It's popular for a reason, but the zombies style of writing, even though I think he's a decent director, his style of writing just doesn't really appeal to me. If it appeals to other people, that's great. It's just not really for me.
Norbit says, you guys got to mention Brad Dourif giving an Oscar-worthy performance. I'll say this. Brad Dourif, a.k.a. Mr. Chucky himself, in Rob Zombie's movies is one of the most respectable parts of those movies. And even in Rob Zombie's terrible Halloween 2, the way he reacts to Annie's death is moving, and it's good. I loved Brad Dourif's performance personally. What did you think of Brad?
Same as you, Sean. That the scene in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, reacting to Annie, like I did not know that Dorif. I knew he was a good actor. Obviously, he has an awesome voice. I knew he was a good actor, but I didn't think he had the range that he showed there. It was just absolutely incredible. Easily, for me, the best acting performance of that movie.
So I'm going to be blunt with my answer for this one, but I'll let Nick go first. Any chance, this is from Drummer72, any chance on a Halloween Kills VOD release? Why is Blumhouse so greedy? They would still make trillions with a VOD release. My answer is going to be pretty blunt to this, but you can go first, Nick.
So any chance on a VOD release? Sure, just not this year. If we're in the same boat next year at this time, I think anything is possible. But it ain't going to happen this year. Why is Blumhouse so greedy? Because they're a corporation that is paid to make money. If they don't make money, we're not going to get any other movies. Okay, and they would still make trillions with a VOD release. Obviously, I know you're being a little bit facetious there with the trillions, so I won't touch that at the moment. But if you're saying that they would still make a bunch of money with the VOD release, sure, they would make money, but it wouldn't even be close to what they would make in theaters. You guys got to look at this from a business perspective. I get it. I want to see it too. Just be patient. Okay, talking shit about it and whining until the sun comes up or sun goes down isn't going to do anything. And I'm not trying to come down on you, Drum. Certainly not. But you're wrong. So that's just kind of my opinion there.
Drummer, I know I see you in here a lot, dude, and we appreciate your support of the channel. So I'm going to start this off by saying don't take what I'm about to say personally. But at the end of the day, what Nick said's right. Blumhouse, Universal, Trancas, they're all, corporations that need to make money. It's not just about making their money back and making a small profit. You can point the finger at Halloween 2018 for making $250 million off of a $10 million movie, not including marketing. That is why you have the delay this year. If Halloween 2018 only made $100 million at the box office, which still would be really good for that movie, the movie would have came out this year. I guarantee it, even with this going on. Because they could probably, with a limited theatrical release and streaming or VOD, do something close to that. But look, if you think that they're going to make $250 million on VOD with where the VOD stands today, there is not a chance in hell that is happening. So they're looking at this big picture as they want to make a ton of... Would it bomb on VOD? No, I still think if they did VOD and limited theatrical release this year, they'd make a little bit of a profit. But it's not about making a little bit of a profit. It's about making as much as they can, because you need to make as much as you can as a corporation, because there's so many chefs in the kitchen with Halloween movies, even the current way it's set up, that, Blumhouse piece of the pie, Trancas piece of the pie, Universal piece of the pie, that these are the things that happen, guys. At the end of the day, they need to make as much money as possible, and that's why the movie's delayed. We're going to see what Tenet does here, and I've said for a while, Tenet's probably going to do really good because it's the only game in town. They don't have any competition, so I expect Tenet numbers to be still really good, and I'm waiting for everybody to be like, oh, look what Tenet did. Halloween Kills could do the same. And it's not the case, because you're going to see more movies doing these limited releases, and they'd have competition, etc. It was the right decision to back the film up, and we're with you. Sucks that it has to wait, but ultimately, from a business perspective, it is the right decision. Evan, the movie guy I'm using taking shape as a wannabe mousepad right now. Cool, I guess, as long as you enjoyed reading it. Byron Weaver says Halloween Night Dance should be made. The Night Dance comics are fantastic. Have you checked those out, Nick?
No, never seen them. Are they really? They're really good.
They're so good. They tell such a great Halloween story. If you can get your hands on some, either an online version of it would be my suggestion, because I'm going to assume that all printed copies, I'm assuming they no longer print them, and they probably charge an arm and a leg that isn't worth that much. anymore. But if you can get your hands on the Night Dance Halloween comics, I think you're gonna love them, dude. They tell a great story.
What kind of are they? Just kind of Halloween stories. Just on other kind of like one-offs, or how?
Oh,
or is it continuing stories?
It's a connected story, and without giving too much away, it very much involves Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, and Dr. Loomis, and it continues to go further, and it's great. I loved it. I think you would really enjoy it if you can find it. Byron Weaver also says Busta Rhymes was going to be in Halloween 9. Well, I guess it's a good thing Halloween 9 never got made then. I'm not a Busta Rhymes fan at all. I didn't mind LL Cool J in Halloween H2O, but Busta Rhymes, I don't know. I didn't dig the whole trick or treat, motherfucker. And the Kung Fu kicking Michael's ass. I wasn't for all that at all. I wasn't for the Resurrection Mask either. I never understood that. Wayne Gotke, let's just have the 50th Halloween movie be Laurie, Myers, Strode, Lloyd, Tate, be synchronized and go crazy, everyone. Haha, jokes. Poppy in with another question. Sean and Nick, should they remake Friday the 13th and start without Jason? Oh, there's a $1 million question. Assuming the court case ever gets figured out, what do you think they should do with Friday the 13th, man?
I honestly think that, so the remake in 2009, I liked aspects of it and I didn't like aspects of it. I guess what are they going to do besides, if they do another remake, as much as I would like to see without Jason and see Pamela's backstory, Jason is such a brand to that franchise. I just feel like they would never do that realistically, as much as I think it would be cool. So for me, what I would do is I would just kind of randomly pick it up. Don't explain anything. Don't, just have a random sequel where, Jason shows up in Crystal Lake and starts killing people. You don't need to, if they do another remake and have Jason in it, they just did that 11 years ago. So now they're going to do another one. What's the difference? So I would just have Jason show up randomly, no explanation, and just try to make a kick-ass movie. Just kind of, you don't have to call it a sequel to the 2009 remake, but it could kind of be like A Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors, where they don't, all of a sudden Freddy's already terrorizing these kids, and there's no explanation of who they are, no explanation of what happened after A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Freddy's there and he's just killing or trying to kill teens at that moment. So that's probably what I do with Friday the 13th, is just kind of keep it simple. A remake without Jason would be awesome. Diving into Pamela, maybe, how she starts her spree would be cool. I just don't think it would fly with the average movie-going audience.
Yeah, you probably need Jason in there. I'm with you with that one. For me, I would have, I kind of like what you said. I don't think, wouldn't be surprised if they do another remake. But what I would do is kind of like you had. I'd have a bunch of guys and girls at Crystal Lake, and they're telling ghost stories almost, or the legend of Jason Voorhees, but maybe this cast of characters has no idea of past events, and we as an audience don't get an idea of what past events are true and what aren't, and you have just ghost stories of, Jason Voorhees being told at the beginning, and all of a sudden Jason's there, and I don't mean in some meta way either, but Jason ends up being there, and that's the movie around this cast of characters that we got to know at the beginning, and Jason killing them, and then you could build off from there, almost like Jason's a legend or a myth of some sort. I that's the way I would dance around having to decide where you pick up from. I'd like to see that done. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. Michael Myers, do you guys like The Keep? Very atmospheric movie. I've never seen it.
Never seen it either.
I don't even think I've heard of it. So
The Keep.
Tommy Quinn says Rob Zombie's Halloween is worse than Scooby-Doo. Hey, what's wrong with Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
At least the cartoons back in the day, anyway. Yo Mama, hey Nick, what's your opinion on The Thing?
Oh, I love The Thing. Embarrassingly, I was a little late to the game. I hadn't seen The Thing until a few years ago, which is, like I said, it's embarrassing. But yeah, it's incredible. The practical effects, I don't think have been topped since, which is pretty crazy that it's almost 40 years since then. The paranoia is amazing. Kurt Russell and his beard are amazing. And I love the ambiguous ending where you don't know who's infected between McReady and Child. So yeah, I love the thing.
Tommy Quinnan again. Sean and Nick, which score do you prefer, Halloween 2018 or It Follows? I haven't seen It Follows. I don't even think I've heard of It Follows. But this might be a bit of a hot take. I think Halloween 2018 has the best score of any Halloween movie. I think Halloween 2 is right behind it. But I love the score in Halloween 2018. I think they did wonderful things. Carpenter and the boys definitely knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. How about you, Nick?
As far as It Follows, I saw it when it came out. I think it was 2014. But I really don't remember the score at all, which should answer the question. I'm with you as far as 2018. For me, I don't know if I'd say it's the best, but it's certainly in the top 2 or 3. I think The Shape Hunts Allison might be my favorite musical note of any Halloween movie ever. I think it's sad that it wasn't longer in the movie, but what the Carpenters did with the score is just brilliant.
Evan, the movie guy's in. If I were to do a Friday the 13th movie, I'd make a sequel, keeping the whole continuity intact. Just acknowledge that anything, just not acknowledge anything from the garbage later sequels. I mean, I feel like that kind of lines up with my my little ghost story one, where you don't really acknowledge what's happened and, or at least get into the nitty gritty of what is what. Art Wishwood, one of our followers here. Husk or Hush? Art, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you have any clarification on this, Nick? I have no idea. Husk or Hush?
I haven't seen Husk, but I've seen Hush. It's actually Mike Flanagan, who directed Dr. Sleep, directed it. And he actually
great.
said it was kind of his love letter to Halloween.
I got to see that then. That's a
really,
must.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Without giving like details away, it's a girl that is deaf, and there's a killer after her. Really well done.
That is awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode of Fandom Empire Live. I believe this was episode number, let me check, 19, because I always forget. Fandom Empire Live, episode 19. Really quickly, let's run over everything. You can check us out on Instagram, Fandom Empire Now, Camp Haddonfield Podcast, and ignore the last one because it's actually Star Wars IRB now for the Imperial Remnant broadcast, which will launch September the 1st right here on the channel. And then on Twitter, it's at Fandom Empire Now, at SWRenegades, and at Star Wars IRB. Nick, before we get to Nick, don't forget, everybody, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, and I know we have a tendency to be a few minutes late. I don't think we'll be late tomorrow, barring disaster. We are going to jump in here, talk a little bit of Halloween for 5 or 10 minutes, and get to the Halloween 2 watch along with each and every one of you. It's going to be a bunch of fun. So don't forget to tune into that. Nick, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you at, social media-wise, and your channel, and if you have anything coming up soon.
Sure. You guys can find me on YouTube at Nick Pusch, Pusch. If you search Nick Pusch, I should pop up. It's called Nick Pusch's Horror Channel. Same name, minus the Horror Channel for Twitter, and I just started an Instagram for the channel, so you can find me there. Coming up, I had a lot of plans for October, and then, the Halloween Kills got delayed on, but I'm still planning on pumping out a lot of cool Halloween ranking videos in October. I'm going to start doing some movie reviews of some newer horror movies that came out. But there'll be a lot of cool ranking videos coming out. So yeah, that's about it for now.
So I'm going to put Nick on the spot here. No pressure, but and actually the audience doesn't know this. Hell, the rest of the Fandom Empire staff doesn't know this. I've only talked to the 2 other people about this. In October, we are planning a massive Halloween panel. There's no Halloween Kills, so Fandom Empire is planning a 6 or 7 person massive Halloween panel talking all things Halloween, including Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, and all the other movies, with some very popular Halloween YouTube artists. There is some shares already reserved, but Nick, if you have the time, man, we would love to have you on that panel.
Oh, that'd be great, Sean. Thanks. I'm in. Anytime Fandom Empire comes calling, I'm in.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be one hell of a night. I got to see what happens because, to be honest, I don't know if 2 hours is going to be enough for this panel. And I know YouTube does something weird with the videos after it goes 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So maybe we will record it and stream it at the same time. We'll definitely take everybody's super chats and questions. But our goal is to get a bunch of Halloween YouTube personalities celebrating the franchise that we love, Halloween, in October. Stay tuned for more on that. It's going to be good times. Nick, thanks for doing this tonight, man. I know we've planned this for a while. I think I reached out to you the first time a couple months ago. It was a pleasure to finally sit down and do this. And I love your channel, man. I love how genuine you are. And it was just awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. I'm so happy to get to collaborate with you guys. I see that you guys are just pumping out all kinds of great content. Yesterday, you touched on a very tricky subject, and I totally commend you guys for that. So yeah, just keep pumping out the great content. And it was a pleasure to be on, and I look forward to keeping in contact in the future here.
Awesome, man. Absolutely. And yeah, we Intel sneaks in another super chat for the multiple cats. I have a love-hate relationship with my cats, man. I have 4 cats in this house, and I at times I wish I had none. And Intel constantly likes to rub me about that. No, I don't need 5 cats, Michael Stapp. Stop it. 4 is enough. Don't give the wife any ideas. Anyways, Nick just mentioned we did touch on a sensitive topic yesterday. I want to commend not only Nick, who donated to that cause and that individual, everybody in the chat that showed up yesterday, participated in. I know we eventually got to talk fandom stuff at the end of the show last night, but we addressed a topic that some people might look at on a thumbnail and go, yeah, I'm not clicking on this. I'm not wasting my time with this. And a bunch of you guys showed up and donated and sent in questions and well thoughts and were there for this individual. And I'm telling you, yes, this individual is going to come on the channel and talk about their story when they're ready. But this person was really moved by the support of this community. And I tip my hat to all you guys who, whether you donated or just sent in well wishes and thoughts. It was an incredible moment last night to support that individual, and even your wishes towards me and my health battle going on right now. Love all you guys. Love what we have here. We're not the biggest channel, but we're growing, and it's thanks to the audience. It's thanks to people like Dave McCrae and Nick Pusch and everybody else that has been a part of this channel or come on the channel to support what we do. I've always said, as cool as it would be to make a shit ton of money off of a channel or get thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers, if we can build a neat little community, whether it's horror, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Supernatural, you name it, a small community that keeps in touch for years to come and still produce content that you guys enjoy, then our job's achieved. Again, Nick, thank you for doing this, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
All right, guys, don't forget, tomorrow night, Halloween 2, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here. We'll see you then. The Boogeymen are, in fact, coming. Ciao.